MMA is a complex sport that requires knowledge of all aspects in order to be successful. Likewise, EA Sports UFC is the same way. If you want to not suck online, you're gonna have to know about what to do when you're in a bad spot, and how to best avoid getting flash KO'd in the first round. So, with that said, here are 10 ways to not suck at EA Sports UFC. Number 1. Don't be predictable. Mix up your attacks. The worst thing that you can do in this game is be predictable, because counters hurt a lot. Mix up highs and lows, jabs and hooks, punctuate your punching combos with kicks. Use your jab to get close and then hit him with a takedown. Always try to keep the opponent guessing. This goes for the ground game too. Don't always transition in the same direction because it makes it easy for your transition to get blocked. Number 2. Manage your stamina. Stamina is so important in EA UFC. It not only affects your striking effectiveness, it also affects your stand-up defense, your transition defense, and most importantly, your submission defense. Also note that blocking uses up stamina and prevents it from refilling. So, just like in Dark Souls, only block when you're being attacked. Don't just hold up your shield all the time, otherwise you'll be wondering why your opponent always seems to have stamina while you're always drained. Also be sure to keep an eye on your opponent's stamina. If you see that it's a lot lower than yours, turn up the heat. It'll be much easier to take them down, transition to a dominant position, and submit them. Number 3. Learn what to do when mounted. Being mounted is the number 1 place that you do not want to be in this game. For those that don't know, the mount position is when your opponent is on top and has passed your guard so that they're now sitting on your torso. What you do not want to do in this position is just mash the left stick and try to push them off so you can get back to your feet. This is slow, and any good player who is in mount will just stuff you every time, get in a few punches, stuff you again, and keep tiring you out and winning the round. Instead, hold the left bumper and perform a transition to get into half guard. This will put you in a much less dangerous position and one step away from getting into guard, which is where all sorts of good stuff can happen. Note that sometimes you'll have to block an enemy's attack before you're allowed to do any transitions. You'll also have to time your block when mounted, so don't just hold the block button down. Number 4. Learn what to do when in guard. Being in guard is when your opponent is on top and your legs are wrapped around their torso. Believe it or not, this is actually an advantageous position for the person on the bottom in this game. Simply perform a regular transition from this position and you'll sweep the opponent and wind up in mount where you can deliver some nasty ground and pound. If you're the player on top and your opponent manages to get to guard, immediately try to advance your position to half guard. Don't try to posture up and do some strikes. You won't do much damage and you put yourself at risk for getting swept into mount. Number 5. Know when you're outmatched. It's generally a bad idea to get suckered into a slugfest, especially if the person you're fighting against is a well-known dangerous striker like Anderson Silva, Jose Aldo, John Jones, Bruce Lee, etc. If your character's portrait is red and your opponent's isn't, look for an opportunity to take the fight to the ground. Not only will you score points for the takedown, but you'll also give yourself an opportunity to recover. This also applies if the other person is simply better than you skill-wise, which will happen. If they're parrying constantly and hitting you with some nasty counters, your best bet is to take them to the ground and work your ground game. Hopefully they didn't watch this video and won't know what to do while on the ground. Number 6. Utilize the submission game. I hardly ever see anyone online using submissions, and that's kind of a shame because it's such a great and satisfying way to win. If you've got a character that's got great submission skill, utilize it. Don't let one of their greatest assets go to waste. Typically you'll need to be in a dominant position like side control, mount, or back mount in order to pull off a submission. But many fighters can do submissions from half guard, guard, north-south, or any position really. Just know your character and know where their submission opportunities lie. If you're attacking the submission, just be patient. Move the right stick in whatever direction is flashing blue, and keep a careful eye out for the left stick icon. You also probably want to try to anticipate where your opponent is going to move. Remember, they're always going to have a tendency to move to the direction that is filled up the most. Also make sure to have a good grip on your right stick because it can become easy for the thumb to slip off. If you're defending the submission, don't move the controller in all directions like a madman. It'll confuse the attacker, but it won't get you very far in avoiding the submission. Focus primarily on 2 directions, and use the other 2 as quick diversions. Again, don't be predictable. If you've got a lot of stamina and you're confident in your ability to escape submissions, you could let a submission advance to a late stage on purpose, and then escape it to wind up in a dominant position. Risky, but it'll pay off if you succeed. Number 7. Block transitions. Blocking transitions is how you punish opponents for being predictable on the ground. You block a transition by holding the right trigger and then holding the left stick either to the left or right, depending on which direction the transition is coming from. Right after you block a transition, that's your cue to transition yourself into a more dominant position. There are 2 really important transitions that you need to know how to block. The first one is from half guard. Not every fighter has this transition, but many are able to step over right from half guard into mount. So, when in half guard against a savvy ground artist, be prepared to block the transition in the direction that the opponent must go in order to mount you. The next one is from side control and is the most common way for an opponent to get into mount. When the opponent is in this position, just start holding the right trigger and pressing either right or left. Right if your opponent is on the left side, and left if the opponent is on your right side. After successfully blocking the transition, that's your cue to transition yourself or push the opponent off so you can get back to your feet. Number 8. Learn how to defend takedowns. This is something that the game does go over in the tutorial, but not very well. The game tells you to just hold down the right trigger and press the control stick downwards. What you really want to do is hold them both down until the takedown is stuffed. If you just press downwards, you're hoping that you hit the timing window perfectly. Number 9. Use counters. If you do get into a slugfest with your opponent, make sure you try to parry their attacks by holding down the block button and then hitting either triangle or circle, depending on if it's a high or low attack. If you time your button press right, you'll perform a parry and your next strike will have a chance to stagger your opponent. Be wary though, the opponent usually will have enough time to parry your counter, so mix up your strikes and refer to tip number 1. Don't be predictable. Number 10. Know your fighter's strengths and weaknesses. This kind of sort of falls under the know when you're outmatched, and I kind of touched upon it earlier in the list. But you should know whether your fighter is a striking, ground and pound, or submission specialist. If you're using Ronaldo Jacare Souza, the guy freaking has a score of 100 in submissions. Use your striking and open up the opportunity for a takedown and focus on submissions. Likewise, if you're Anderson Silva, don't be too afraid to get into a slugfest. That doesn't mean get reckless and never block or counter, but typically you will come out on top if a guy decides to go toe-to-toe and isn't doing very effective countering. So, pay attention to the stats on the character select screen. Note especially the fighter's abilities so you can know where in particular your fighter is strong. Some fighters might be better in the clinch, while others have stronger kicks than punches, and so on. Hopefully these tips will help you become a better fighter and get you ever closer to a black belt online. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.